Hello, and welcome to Pharmacist Answers. I'm Cynthia, and I will be your host. You're listening to my Periscope broadcast turned podcast. Hope you enjoy.
If you haven't been here before, my name is Cynthia. I'm in Georgia. The topic today is stomach acid. And so there's a couple of different things that you can do. A lot of people do have problems with stomach acid. Stomach acid causes heartburn. Stomach acid, people who have long-term reflux problems end up with they get a diagnosis of GERD. So an overview of your stomach acid. Your stomach acid, if you remember from chemistry, has a very low pH, generally a pH of about 2. The lower the pH, the more acidic it is. The higher the pH, the more basic it is. So stomach acid, being an acid, it has a pH of 2. It is mostly hydrochloric acid. Again, in chemistry, hydrochloric acid, that's a hydrogen atom and a chlorine atom. They like to hang out together, and they'll join together and then they'll break apart, and they'll join together and they'll break apart. And so all of that motion, and if it chooses to attach to something else other than itself again, is how the acid can be dangerous. So having this high acid helps your stomach digest a lot of the foods that you eat in a relatively quick manner. If it was just a weak base, then it would take a long time for that acid to break down food and for you to digest food and absorb all the nutrients. So having a high powered acid in a place that's safe in your body to do this fast digestion for you is a good plan. And it works out very well. There are pumps in the lining of your stomach that are in all the cells of the lining of your stomach that produce this acid. If you think about a water wheel and how it runs down, scoops through the water, and then carries the water to the top, and then usually dumps the water somewhere else at the top before it comes down again to scoop up more water. That's kind of how these acid pumps work in your stomach. It's inside the cell, and a certain process happens and sticks a proton or a hydrogen atom in this pump, and the pump spins around and moves to the outside of that cell into your stomach cavity and dumps it out there, and then goes back inside empty. A hydrogen atom by itself is not naturally acidic, but again, in chemistry, if you take the electron away from it and it ends up having a positive charge, they're called protons, and so that positive charge then is what allows that hydrogen in your stomach to attach to other things and start breaking it down and pulling it off of what it's already attached to. So a lot of real detailed biochemistry there. But it's also the reason why there's a class of medications that work for reflux that are called proton pump inhibitors, because it turns off these pumps, and so they pump less protons into your stomach to make it so acidic. So that's one of the things. There's a different type of pump that has a different mechanism, but it relies on a certain type of histamine. Histamines you may recognize from there being antihistamines for allergies, but there's a particular type of histamine that is only in your stomach that has a different type of pump to add other components to the acid. So there's a second class of acid reducers that are called histamine 2 receptor inhibitors. So it turns off that second mechanism. The histamine receptor blockers are a lot faster. Just the way that you can take Benadryl or Claritin and it block your histamines for your allergies in pretty much a dose or two, a histamine 2 blocker for stomach acid can work as fast as 1 or 2 doses. That's why you'll see advertisements for Pepcid saying you can take it to prevent heartburn or you can take it to treat heartburn. So it can work fast at the beginning. If you, get heartburn and I need to take something quick to make it go away, or you can take it on a regular basis to be able to block the acid ahead of time, so then when you eat the foods that you choose to eat, you don't have that acid reflux pop up on you. While proton pump inhibitors, that's going to be some of the newer ones that just went over the counter in recent years. That's your Prilosec, that's your Prevacid, your Nexium. Those are things that that pump takes up to 2 weeks for it to be able to turn completely off. So you can't, oh gosh, get heartburn and then take a Prilosec and expect it to make your heartburn go away and make you feel better. So, and then the third thing is your regular antacids. That's like your Tums, your Rolaids, and they are essentially bases that you put into the acid to neutralize it. In chemistry, you take an acid, you take a base, you put them together, and they kind of cancel each other out and bring everything to the middle. So that's how, those are kind of your three types of stomach acid reducers. The fastest, potentially, is your antacids. So that's your Tums, your Rolaids, Mylanta, Maalox, those kinds of things. You take it, you have acid in your stomach, you pour a base into it, and it's supposed to help neutralize it. The second thing is your histamine 2 receptor blockers. The Zantac, the Tagamet is an older one that's not recommended as much anymore because Tagamet can have some drug interactions with other things that you may take. Those you can buy over the counter, and they can work within 30 minutes. So you get a heartburn attack, and you can take a histamine 2 blocker, and that can reduce your stomach acid. And then the third type for acid control is your proton pump inhibitors. Again, it turns off that hydrogen pump that puts the acid into your stomach. And they work a lot slower. Like I said, can take up to 2 weeks to give you the maximum effect. That's an overview of how your stomach produces its acid and how there are medications, most of them being over the counter now, which is really great for people who kind of know what's going on, and can treat themselves without always having to pay a doctor visit to get the medicine that they need for a problem that they know they have. The downside with reflux and being able to get the medicines over the counter is if for any reason the reflux has caused any cellular damage or long-term damage to your esophagus. Your stomach cells, they're intended to hold the acid. They're created to withstand that acid because most of those cells create the acid. So it's okay and it's cool that it hangs out in there. Your esophagus, on the other hand, and the back of your throat and all of those things, those places are not intended to withstand that strong of an acid. So if they get in contact with them, injury is definitely on the agenda if the acid comes in contact with them too much. And then if it becomes long term, you will end up with cellular changes, which can lead to different kinds of diseases or potentially cancer, because cancer is defined as a mutated cell that then kind of takes on a mind of its own. Let's see. Oh, a fun tidbit. If you know anything about cell types, this is just some like fun trivia, that the cells on your skin that help keep the stuff inside in and the stuff outside out, they're called epithelial cells. The interesting thing about your digestive tract, if you go from your mouth at the beginning to your bum at the end, your entire digestive tract is lined with epithelial cells, very similar to the cells on your skin. Now, the cells on your skin are dry for the most part, so we're not like wet and sticky like frogs and newts and stuff like that, where the epithelial cells inside your digestive tract are moist because they have a moisture producing mechanism for saliva production in your mouth, acid production in your stomach, moisture and different moisture productions for a different level of acid throughout your digestive tract. So if you actually think about it, food doesn't actually go inside your body, it just goes inside your digestive tract, because the epithelial cells go all the way through you without letting anything in. Now, those epithelial cells absorb and release things, so like nutrients and vitamins and all of those, and water and all of those things that you consume can be absorbed and go to the places that your body needs to use them. But the actual food does not go, quote, inside your body. So that's a fun tidbit, that you have epithelial cells on the outside of your body that we can see, but also all the way through your digestive tract. So technically, epithelial cells meaning outside cells, your digestive tract all the way through you is considered, quote, outside. So it's just turned inside out, so the inside of your body can absorb it and use the things. Okay, what's your question? After you eat, I'll cough for like 30 minutes. Okay, that's a long time to cough. Is it anything you eat, or is it like certain things, or like certain types of meals, or certain size meals? Or is it every single, like you could eat a banana? Is that GERD? That's hard to say. Have you ever used an antacid like a Zantac or a Pepcid on a regular basis, like taking it on a daily basis or like morning and night to see if that helps it? Because that would be my first recommendation. Especially if it happens no matter what you eat. Like if you eat a big meal of pasta and it happens, or then like you just eat a banana for a snack and it still happens. Because sometimes reflux can be situational. You also sneeze. Do you have any diet restrictions, Steve? Like you don't eat, like cutting out processed flour or anything like that? Nuts, you're allergic to nuts? Seeds, okay. So not an allergy, just like, did you have to deal with diverticulitis so you don't eat the small seeds? Okay, gotcha. My husband and my mother-in-law both have a weird cough thing they do after they eat. And my husband is almost convinced that it's like a slight wheat gluten allergy, because they both love bread. My father-in-law jokes with her and says it's her dessert. Like, she doesn't get dessert, so it's not like cake or pie or ice cream, but if you get like a roll or a biscuit with your meal, then like she'll eat everything and then eat like part of the bread as her dessert. And so again, my husband thinks that it's could possibly be a mild wheat allergy or gluten allergy of some kind, but again, they both love bread so much. And so if it's just a cough after every meal, and they just kind of get it over with, then they're obviously fine doing it. If you try an antacid, again, the histamine 2 blockers, you can take one in the morning and one at night, and it would just give you a test to see if it's the acid that kind of bubbles up to lead to just the irritation in your throat, and then like your sinus passages run down the back of your throat. So if you sit and rest, it's not so bad, but if you have to like be active right after you eat, then it's worse. That's what it's starting to sound like. Then I would give the like a Zantac or a Pepcid a try and see if that reduces the frequency of it or the longevity of any episode that you have, and see if that's it. If not, it may just be one of those weird things like my husband has. He's never been tested. Like, we've never, again, it's not something that bothers him enough for him to like want to go to a doctor and get tested out and stuff. So I don't have a definite definition or answer that that's exactly what he has. That's just his speculation. And so it could be something that if you could cut out something that could be a high risk allergen in your diet, just to see if that also changes. But I wouldn't do both at the same time. I would try one, like if you think it might be GERD, or some kind of reflux process after you eat, try the antacids and see if that helps. If that doesn't help, then try cutting out high-risk foods that may contain allergens, starting with like bread. So lots of white breads, white pastas, those kinds of things. Things are made of flour. And see if that cuts back, to see. That's probably my best suggestion. So maybe that helped you, Steve, gives you something to think about. So y'all have a good day. Happy Friday, and I will see y'all later.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes so you don't miss an episode. You can find the show notes at pharmacistanswershere.wordpress.com. If you want to join the conversation live, follow me on Periscope at Cyn Hendrix, CYNHENDRIX. You can also share your questions and comments with me on Twitter @SinHendrix or email the podcast at pharmacistanswershere@gmail.com.